Ahlan wa sahlan. Welcome to the Oriental Café, a podcast where we will sit at the same table to explore the fascinating worlds of Egyptian dance, personal empowerment, and halas, life. I'm your host, Joana Saahirah, world-renowned Oriental dancer, teacher, choreographer, and author, the creator of the pioneering Joana Saahirah's World and Joana Saahirah's Online Dance School. I will meet you at the Oriental Café every 2 weeks, alone or with a guest, sharing intimate yet universal conversations. In agreement or disagreement, we will create bridges and inspire each other, because the world is only one, and so is our human soul. Ready to fall in love? Yalla bina! How to become a professional Oriental dancer, or as people prefer to call it, how to become a professional belly dancer, whatever that means. Welcome to episode number 18 of the Oriental Café podcast by yours truly, Joana Saahirah. I am going to draw from 25 years of experience in the field of Egyptian dance as a professional dancer, first in Egypt and then around the world, working daily and exclusively as a teacher, as a performer, as a judge, as an author and a researcher, as a choreographer, you name it. I'm the Leonardo da Vinci of Egyptian dance, perhaps, because I'm everywhere and I do everything. And I do it because I love to do it, and I do it because I can, and I do it because I need. But we will get there, okay? What does it mean to become a professional in this field, in the field of Egyptian, Oriental, and Folkloric dance? What is the reality? What are the skills and the mindset you need to adopt if you want to turn this hobby into your career, perhaps, right? I'm gonna open the door to a world I know very well from experience. Now, let me start by clarifying something. I'm not going to refer to working in Egyptian dance as a hobby, although I think that's great. And I'm not talking about working in Egyptian dance while you have someone supporting you financially. That's also wonderful, but that has never been my situation. I started working very early. I started paying my bills from my work, my dance work, exclusively, very early. There was never a sponsor. There was never a rich husband. There was never a convenient husband or a sugar daddy. There was never a financial help that allowed me to do dance in a relaxed, non-business-like manner. Okay? So there is a good side to it and a bad side to it, and I'm not saying that one is better than the other. What I'm saying is that what I'm going to share with you in this episode comes from someone who is a professional in this field, living for this field and from this field for 25 years straight. Okay? So I know a thing or two about what it means to be a professional Oriental dancer, but let's start here. What does it mean to be a professional? Many years ago, I went to a workshop from a very famous teacher. And she came to the workshop totally unprepared. And mind you, this is an iconic dancer, okay? It was a disaster. She would stop in the middle of the workshop to take a break because she wanted to see the bazaar where people were selling clothes and scarves and props. She would stop to talk with her dog. Yes, it's true. I know, it sounds I'm making it up, but I'm not. She would stop because she was not in the mood to continue. I mean, it was terrible. And I'm talking about an iconic dancer that I love with all my heart. But I was so disappointed. The question is, in Egyptian dance, there are a few standards we have not established yet. And one of them is the meaning of being a professional. What does it mean? For different people, that will mean different things. For me, it's essential to focus more on what I deliver than on my promotion. It's essential to be on time with my work, to respect deadlines. It's essential to always be prepared and never be overconfident. I have all the experience in the world. I'm so talented. I don't care. No. Always be the more prepared. Always be the most prepared person in the room. Okay? Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many years I've been doing this. If I'm the best, I'm the worst, I'm in the middle, it doesn't matter. As a principal, I start from scratch. I presume that I have to prove myself all over again. So I prepare and I work harder than anyone in the room. Those are some of the standards for me of what a professional Oriental dancer must be. Okay, but not everyone will agree with me. And some of the most well-known folks in this business will do the opposite of what I just shared with you. So let's start by acknowledging that the standard of professionalism is yet to be defined in this field. And this is one of the reasons why it's not yet considered a respectful, high-level profession. It's not. I'm aware of it. I don't care, but I'm aware of it. And this is one of the reasons why. Because we do not have a code of professionalism, of minimum standards for performers, for teachers, how people should prepare themselves, how they should show up for work, how they should deal with the audience, with their students, with their colleagues. Those standards are not defined yet. So you will find very good behavior and terrible, amateurish, miserable behavior. And we're kind of lost in this ocean of indefinition. So I'm going to start by suggesting that you define what is a professional for you, what kind of professional you would like to be, and why are you in this? Why do you want to perform professionally or teach professionally? Why do you want to embark on this adventure? And I got to tell you, and I'm only speaking from my experience, this has been the ride of a lifetime. I wouldn't have done it differently, none of it, if I had the chance to go back in time. I would have dropped acting as I did. I would have moved to Egypt totally by myself, throwing myself to the lions and fighting and crawling myself up the mountain. I would still leave my career in Egypt when I left and prepare to teach and perform and lecture all over the world. I would still open my school, Joana Saahirah's Online Dance School. I mean, everything, every single step I have taken in my career, I would do that step all over again if I had the choice of doing it. But that doesn't mean it has been easy. So it is essential that you start by defining what kind of professional you want to be. What does that look like for you? What are the values that make the most sense for you? And why you want to do this? You will need a very strong why. This is something I ask my students when they're preparing to launch themselves professionally, especially in the context of my professional mastermind. And by the way, if you want more information about that program where I teach people how to create their first professional course and performance, please check the link that I'm going to share in the show notes. And of course, I forgot, subscribe to the podcast newsletter if you want to receive a checklist with 5 mindset rules for successful professionals in the field of Egyptian dance. The link is also in the show notes. But where was I? I was in the why. You need a very strong why. When I started my career, my biggest why, the motivation behind my wish, my desire to become a professional Oriental dancer was I wanted to know this dance in depth for my own benefit. That was a selfish benefit, a selfish purpose. It was for me, because it was changing me and my life, and I was benefiting so much from it, and I wanted more of it. But I also wanted the entire world to see what I was seeing. I wanted other women to experience the magic and the transformation I was experiencing in myself and in my life. I wanted to provide that transformation to other women. I wanted to show them the wonderland that I was discovering. That was my why, or my two whys. One was personal. I want more of it because it's doing a lot of good stuff to me, right? I want more of this. Give me more. And the other one was bigger than myself. I want to take this magic, I want to take these benefits to the entire world so that other women will experience what I'm experiencing. Other women will see their beauty, the beauty of this dance, the beauty of this music, the beauty of this culture, and what it can do to you. I wanted to share that with the world. So it was not about money, although I was already living from my dance. It wasn't about fame, it wasn't about power or control. It wasn't about competition, being the best or being the worst. It was a genuine, soul-oriented why. So I'm going to ask you to start. What is your why? Why would you want to become a professional in this field? And make sure you have a soul-oriented motivation. And also, what does professionalism look like to you? Let's take advantage of the fact this is not established yet. So everyone is establishing their own definition of professionalism. Define yours. After you have defined what it means to be a professional, what are the standards you would like to live by, and after you have defined your why do you want to do this? Something for yourself and something for others. Right? Because when you're working in this field, you're serving this field. Let me remind you of this. It's important to do it for yourself, but also do it for others. What am I giving to others? How am I adding to the dance? How am I serving this dance? And serving the ones I want to serve. My audience, my students, my readers. What do I want to give? It's not only about what do I want to get. And what I find is that these days in particular, dancers are very obsessed with what they're going to get. I'm not saying this is good or bad. I'm saying it is what it is, okay? But when you focus on what you want to get, instead of focusing what you want to give, in my experience, you're not going to go far. You're not going to go for the long-term haul, and you're not going to leave a legacy. And you're also not going to make an impact on people, because before I receive attention, opportunities, payment for my work, praise, whatever, I need to give. Okay? Before I receive, I need to give. So from my experience, the focus should be on giving first and receiving after, okay? Although this is not what I see these days. There is this tendency to obsess over how many likes do I want to have, how many followers do I want to have, how many invitations do I want to have, how many how much do I want to receive, instead of delivering, right? Now, after defining what is a professional dancer for you, what are the values of a professional dancer and your why, and after thinking about what you have to give instead of thinking about what you want to receive from the start, I would invite you to build your vision of what a professional life in this field could look like. And it's going to look like different things for different people in different places. For me, my vision was clear. I knew, and I saw the movie in my head, I saw it in my head. I was sure because I saw it happening. I knew that I would start in Egypt. I would recover the soul of this dance for myself. I would rediscover what it means. From the bone, from the insides of the bone. And from Egypt, I would travel the world sharing the magic of the dance with people from all nations. And that's exactly what I did. I knew I wanted to reach even further and touch even more people. And that's where Joana Saahirah's online dance school comes from. Because I thought, okay, I'm having an impact, but I'm exhausted and I don't want to travel and leave off my suitcase forever. How can I impact more people more consistently on a deeper level without the exhaustion of traveling all the time? And I love traveling and I love festivals and I love meeting people, but I was traveling every week to a different city and country. It got so bad that I didn't wake up for a work in a very important festival. The organizer had to open my class for me because I was so exhausted. I did not listen to the alarm clocks. I did not listen to the staff coming to my room and knocking on my door. It was terrible. I was mortified. It had never happened to me. I just couldn't wake up because I had been traveling for months without an end. Every week in a different city, sometimes in a different country, without sleeping, eating very poorly. And I knew I would not want to sustain that lifestyle for a long time. So my vision was clear, and it's still very clear. I know exactly where I want to go from here. I also thought I have a very specific experience in this field and I want to share it through writing. So I wrote and published books, and I'm currently working on a new book that is going to change the way I see Egyptian dance and the way they teach it and perform it and see it drastically. And that's also part of my vision. But that's me. It's not necessarily you. What I often see also in the context of private coaching or in my professional mastermind program is that dancers come with borrowed ideas of what a professional life looks like and feels like in this field, instead of taking the time to build their own vision. How does it look like for you? Maybe it's about opening your own school in your city. Maybe it's performing in theaters. Maybe it is about traveling abroad and teaching all over the world. Maybe it's about teaching seniors, specializing in seniors, or teaching children, or even researching and lecturing. I don't know. But I don't have to know because it's your life and it should be your vision of success and your vision of what a fulfilling professional life looks like in this field. You cannot borrow it from somebody else because you will be living the life of somebody else and you will be dreaming the life of somebody else. Dream your dreams, live your life, build your vision. Okay? It doesn't look the same for everyone. I have done everything I have done, worked with the best in my field. I wouldn't have done it differently, but this was my vision. This was my dream and this was my path. We're individuals. That means you have your path, I have my own. Sometimes they're similar and sometimes they're not. And it doesn't mean mine is better than yours or yours is better than mine. Okay? So build your vision with as much clarity as you can and pursue it. Start building it. Start making it happen. Now, we need a combination of education, that's education in Egyptian dance, Egyptian music and culture and mentality, and there are many ways to get that education. Of course, I'm biased, so I'm going to invite you to join Joana Saahirah's online dance school because in my school, I teach the dance, I teach the music, the culture, the mentality, and the personal growth that necessarily comes along with all of that. This is my way. I like to go all the way. And if you want to do it with me, check the link and links. There are several links that I'm going to share in the show notes below this episode. Okay? What do you need? You need to be trained as a dancer, as I've mentioned, but you also need to build a business and a professional mindset. When I meet dancers who are transitioning or trying to transition from amateurs to professionals, one of the things I notice, aside from a lack of dance and musical and cultural training, is a mindset, a way of thinking about things that is very amateur, a way that would never allow them to survive in the real world, doing real work and living from their work. It would never happen. So we have to work on mindset. We have to work on a different way of looking at the dance, a different way of practicing and doing their dance that does not look like probably what you've been doing as a student or as someone who only does it as a hobby. I'm going to give you an example, a classical example. Amateur dancers will dance when they feel inspired, when they feel in the mood. A professional dancer does not know what that means. I'm not in the mood. I'm tired. I'm sick. I'm not inspired. I don't know what that means. I mean, I know intellectually, but in reality, that's a no question. It's a no subject. It doesn't exist, because as an amateur, you can give yourself the chance to dance when you feel like. As a professional, there is a discipline, there is a commitment, there is a seriousness and a responsibility that removes inspiration and mood from the table. I do not dance and do what I'm supposed to be doing when I feel like, or when I'm in a good mood, or when I feel inspired. I do it when I need to do it. Even if I don't feel in the mood, even if I don't feel inspired, even if I'm tired, even if I'm sick. Yes, it's fresh news, I know, and it's probably not what you want to hear. But this is the reality of working professionally in this field if you pay your bills from your dance work, and if you don't have anyone else supporting you and allowing you to have your dance experience whenever you feel like, if you feel like. Once again, I'm not saying that one is better than the other. I'm just saying they're totally different situations. Another important difference between an amateur mindset and the professional mindset. You always respect the people that you're serving. And you focus more on delivering than you focus on promoting. Let me break this down. Respect the people you're serving. That's point one. And I know it sounds very obvious, but it's not. If you're talented and if you have had a few successes, sometimes you get cocky, you get arrogant. You think these people are lucky to study with me. They're lucky to watch me perform. No, they're not lucky. You're lucky to be allowed to do what you love and be paid for it. And I don't care if you're the most talented person in the world. You're still lucky to do this job, be paid for it, and have people subscribing to your courses or workshops, hiring you to perform. They don't need that to survive. They don't need an Oriental dancer to eat. They don't need you as they need their doctor. They could easily say no. They could easily pick another teacher, another performer. And yes, you can tell me, but Joana, I'm the best. That's why they hire me. That's why they subscribe to my classes. I respect your opinion. Still, even if you're the best, and this is just my perspective, guys, don't kill me, okay? I personally feel very grateful and honored that students who have been with me from the beginning keep coming to my courses and performances. I'm talking about people who have been following me and investing in my work with their time, with their money, with their focus for more than 20 years straight. I don't take that for granted, and neither should you. Serve and respect your students, your clients, anyone who hires you, because they put bread on your table. You gotta honor them, you gotta respect them, and deliver the best, as if this was your first job. Okay? Aside from serving and respecting the ones who invest in your work, it's important to deliver with more focus and passion than the focus and passion you use promoting yourself. And once again, I gotta say this, these days, with social media and all, I see an hyper focus on promotion and an under focus on delivery. In the long term, that doesn't work, because you leave a track record. People talk about you, they talk about your work, and there is no publicity better than word of mouth. A dancer who has been impacted by your work will recommend your work to other dancers. Those dancers will be impacted, and they recommend your work to other dancers. And this is how you grow. Clients, not followers, not likes. Clients. People who pay you for your dance work as a performer, as a teacher, as an author, whatever you do in this field. You serve them, you respect them, and you focus on delivery more than you focus on promotion. I have subscribed to a few dance workshops who were incredible at their launch. I mean, the promotion was spotless. Personally, I suck at promotion. I am not a marketing person. I'm getting better, but I'm not naturally good at it. I'm an artist. I'm the best at delivering the content. I'm not the best at selling it. And I have made peace with it. I know myself. I know where is my weakness and where is my strength. And I have been in events where the sales were incredible, the promotion was spotless, and the delivery was terrible. What do you think happens? Once the delivery is terrible, people don't even think about coming back to you. You catch them once, you do not catch them twice. Unless they don't know better, and they're not searching for better. So their standards of quality are very low, so they will stay. But if you catch dancers with a good head, a good education, who know what they're searching for, know what is a quality dance teacher or a quality performer, and if you let them down, if what you deliver is not as good or better than what you promoted, they're not going to come back to you. They're not going to hire you again. And this is not what makes a long-term career. You need people who trust your work, who know your work, who recommend your work, and come back to it again and again and again. What else do you need to know in terms of building a profession in this field? And I'm going to draw from a few questions I've received lately on social media around this topic, and telling you about the importance of knowing your worth, being confident in what you do, but also being humble, right? What do I mean by this? There is a sweet spot where professional dancers find themselves in love with what they do, knowing the value of what they do so they can charge accordingly, and they can demand the respect they're owed accordingly, but at the same time they're humble enough to keep studying, keep working, keep showing up, keep pushing. It doesn't matter how much experience I have. It doesn't matter how much success I have had in my career. What counts is what I deliver now. You cannot rely on your curriculum. You can only rely at how great you can be right now. That awareness brings humbleness to the table. I gotta know my worth and the worth of my job and not being afraid to charge for it because I know what it delivers. But at the same time, I have to know that I have to continuously work on myself. I am not a finished product, and I am not the result of successes accumulated in my curriculum. I am only as good as what I can do right now. And I know this can sound cruel to a lot of you. I know, it sounds cruel to me as I say it. But it's the truth. This is how the real world works. People don't care. If you had full houses in Cairo every day for 8 straight years, they don't care if you had full houses in Russia, in China, in Japan, in New Zealand. They don't care. They care about what you can do right now. So you need to have your feet on the floor, be grounded, be confident and humble. Know your worth, charge what you're worth, but keep improving, educating yourself, being the most hardworking person in the room. The first to arrive, the last to leave. This is probably not what you want to hear, but this is what I've got to give you. And once again, I will invite you to claim your free checklist with mindset rules or principles for successful professional Oriental dancers. I have made this checklist for dancers who are thinking about becoming professionals in this field to get you started. You will find the link to claim this free resource in the show notes, either in the description box below the video if you're watching this episode on YouTube, or as mentioned in the show notes below the audio episodes. Subscribe to our newsletter, our podcast newsletter, and receive a few more tips on how to become a professional. Tips that I'm only sharing inside our podcast newsletter. The link is also below this episode. Now, I have received a message a while ago on Instagram from a dancer asking me, Joana, what do I do? Please help me. I have a troupe. I'm putting a performance together and I'm working with dancers. I'm supposing her students. And I cannot get them to work seriously and professionally as I wish they would. I'm working my derriere off and they're cutting themselves a slack. They're not disciplined. They don't have the same work ethic as I do. What do I do? And that takes us to the next step I wanted to share with you, which is gathering people that are as professional or more professional than you in your circle. In other words, choosing your professional circle very carefully. Now, I know that a lot of teachers in this field, myself included, put shows together, performances together with their students. And I have something to say about that. Do not expect amateurs to act like professionals, because they will not. We have to consider that if we're working with amateurs, with students, they're going to act like students. Why shouldn't they? They do not have the preparation of a professional. They don't see themselves as professionals. They don't need to act like a professional. So we have to know exactly what we're doing and with whom we're doing it. If I'm preparing a show with my students, I know they're students. I cannot push them to be what they're not. But as a professional, doing professional work, I have to make sure that the people I bring into my circle, dancers, musicians, any kind of collaborators, they need to be as professional or more professional than I am. That is the only way to pull yourself up and forward. If you gather around a bunch of people who are supposed to be working as professionals but have the mindset and the responsibility of an amateur, you're gonna bring you and your work down. Don't do that. I'm not saying never put a show with students together, because I've done that. I loved it, but accept it for what it is and present it for what it is. Don't present a student like a professional dancer. Don't push them to be a professional if that's not what they're there for and if that's not what they're prepared to do. When I created my first show, even before I moved to Cairo, I gathered a few of my students at a time and I presented them as students. I did not present them as my troupe or professional dancers I invited. No, I presented them as my students. So the audience knew they were looking at a beautiful group of students of Egyptian dance. That is the way to go, in my opinion. It's wonderful to perform with your students. I love it, but I do not expect them to be what they're not, and I do not push them to act in ways they're not prepared to act. Okay? What else do I have for you in terms of becoming a professional in this field? I think that, and let me check my notes, you have to work with people that makes you feel excited, makes you feel like a student again in a way, and I'm thinking about musicians in particular. Work with musicians that challenge you. Work with colleagues that challenge you. Work with people that teach you something you didn't know about. Okay, so that is very much in line with what I was sharing before, gathering a highly professional group of people around you for your work. Not only professional, I would say people who have something to teach you. Okay, and again, have the humbleness to learn, because then you learn faster and you become more mature faster by learning from the people that you work with. Okay, so once again, be very picky, very careful about who you surround yourself with and what those colleagues or those musicians can teach you. Make sure they know stuff you do not know. Make sure they are indirectly a kind of a teacher, because they can be if you're open to learning. Last but not least, remember, you are serving your art primarily, and then you're serving yourself. This is what I call the 3 S's. So there is one I did not mention. First S of the professional Oriental dancer is serving the art. It's always in the back of my mind. How do I serve this art? How do I bring it to the world with a little bit more artistry, dignity, elevation, intelligence, elegance? How can I impact the art in a positive way? That's the first S, serving the art. The second S is serving yourself. Very important. And if you're living from your work as a professional, a full-time professional does, you have to serve yourself. I have to be paid for my services. This is my life. It's my career. I offer a service or a product and I'm paid for it. It's normal. It's how it works in every field. And if I'm not serving myself, if I'm not being paid, I will eventually have to stop and move to something else because I'm not rich. I don't have people supporting me financially. So if you're not serving yourself, if you're not getting paid for your work and appreciated, You're not going to do this for a long time. This is why it's so important not to be afraid to charge for your work. Make sure you deliver the best you can deliver. Be prepared. Be the most hard-working person in the room. All of those beautiful things that I've already shared. But in the end of the day, don't be afraid to charge for the work, especially if you know it's good, right? When I work in my professional mastermind, I share this exercise with my students. I tell them, imagine you are at a meeting, a business meeting, and someone is about to hire you for a performance. And they ask you, why should I hire you and not another dancer for this performance? If you don't have a quick, clear answer to this question, you're not ready to charge for your work. And you need to be ready to charge for your work once you're a professional. And you need to know why they should hire you and not another dancer. Yes, sir, I know why you should hire me and not any other dancer. And I'm going to tell you why. Point 1, point 2, point 3, 4, 5. Clear, assertive, confident, and backed up by facts. This is it. It's important to unapologetically charge for what you do because you have to serve yourself. If you're working professionally from this field and living for it and from it, serving your art, serving yourself, and serving your audience. I know you may think that your presence is enough. You may think that they're lucky. Again, let's go, they're so lucky to have me as their teacher, or. That's not the way I roll. Even if I know I'm the best at what I do, and I'm not afraid to say it because I have known the best in my field. So I know what I do, and I know the value of what I do as a teacher, as a performer, as an author, as a choreographer. I know my value. But I never forget that I'm serving my art, I'm serving myself, and I'm serving my audience. It's about them. If I'm performing, it's about serving my audience. If I'm teaching, it's about serving my audience. If I'm writing and publishing, it's about serving my audience. How can I benefit them? How can I share something useful, empowering, beautiful that is going to change them and their life? How am I going to impact them? What am I going to give them? And what is the benefit of what I'm about to give them? I have to think about what I feel, what I think, my creation, my identity for sure, but I also have to think about the people I'm serving. So remember these 3 S's, the triad of the professional Oriental dancer. Serving the art, serving yourself, and serving your audience. Last but not least for now, I would like to add that proactivity and reinvention are essential. Don't wait for people to knock on your door. Show up, deliver your curriculum, reach out. Before they hired me for my name, I had to build my name. What I also see very often is dancers presuming that if I'm talented and I'm well trained, invitations will come from the sky. They will fall from the sky. People will invite me to their festivals. They will invite me to perform. They will invite me to teach. And when that doesn't happen, they become depressed, frustrated, furious, envious of dancers who are working, and presuming maybe this is not for me. Maybe this is not the way to go. And maybe it's not, and maybe it is. But you need to have a reality check, and instead of waiting for people to knock on your door, go knock on theirs and show your value first. Very important. Once again, confidence and humbleness. Remember that sweet spot? Confidence to present yourself and what you do with assertiveness, and the humbleness to knock on people's doors. You have to get your ego out of the way. Otherwise, you could be creating a beautiful job, a beautiful career, a beautiful legacy, and you're not. You're self-sabotaging. You're cutting your feet and your hands, and you're going to blame life for it when you only have yourself to blame. Am I being too harsh? I hope not. It's with love, and it's the truth. So I hope you appreciate it, and I hope you listen to it and you use it to the best of your ability, okay? Now, resourcefulness, proactivity, putting yourself out there, not presuming that people are going to knock on your door. At least not until you have proven yourself, right? And then reinvention. This is something I really love. It's a theme very close to my heart. And once again, it's something that a lot of dancers struggle with. They get attached to a specific situation, circumstance, or title. And when life comes and forces them to change and to drop that label and that circumstance, they feel like losers. They feel like, oh my God, my life is over. When you are in this for the long run, and especially if you have a vision, chances are your work is not going to look like the same today as it looked 10 years ago or 5 years ago or 20 years ago. Things are going to change. They're going to evolve. And you have to ride the waves as they come and make the best out of those waves. Now, I am very lucky, I'm privileged, because in my career, there is no dream unturned. There is nothing I would like to have done that I didn't do, except for cinema. I would have liked to do cinema in Egypt, but I chose not to do it because the price was my dignity, was my body, and I was never keen on selling my body in exchange for professional opportunities. So it's not something I regret. It's something I feel sad about, because I knew and I know I would have done it wonderfully. I'm a trained actress. I'm a trained dancer. I speak Arabic fluently. I know how to behave in front of a camera. And I know Egyptian culture better than I know my own. It's a pity I was not allowed to do what I wanted to do in terms of cinema in Egypt. Aside from that, there is nothing I haven't done. But I have gone through different stages in my career. And what my work looks like today is very different from what it looked like when I started in Egypt. The first years were the years of the performer with my musicians, and they were fabulous, but I wouldn't go back and have them again. I am in a different phase in my life, a different phase in my work. The days of traveling the world non-stop to teach, perform, lecture, and judge were amazing. But they're very different from the ones that I had once I opened my school. Sometimes I have seasons of more writing, focusing on my books, or focusing on my teaching, sometimes choreographing, sometimes performing. The question is, I allow myself to morph into different versions of myself, and I allow life to guide me as much as I guide myself. Different seasons of my career have shown me different pleasures, different wisdom, different insights, a different kind of magic, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So to close this episode, I would like to remind you that life is dynamic, ever-changing, and a long-term career in this field is also dynamic and ever-changing. Do not attach yourself to a specific area or a specific circumstance. Allow yourself to change, be challenged, grow into different areas, and be surprised at how far this dance can take you. If you love it, if you respect it, if you honor it, and if you work your beautiful derriere off for it. I hope this episode has shed some light on what it means to be a professional Oriental dancer or belly dancer. Once again, I am going to invite you to check more information about my exclusive, private, professional mastermind program. It's a very limited spot program where I teach a specific dancer how to build their first professional course and performance, how to present them, how to sell them, the whole thing. And also check the podcast newsletter and the link for you to claim the checklist with principles, golden principles of a successful professional Oriental dancer. Mindset rules that you need to understand and embody if you want to grow into a true pro. Someone who serves her art or his art, herself, himself, and their audience. My name is Joana Saahirah. It has been a pleasure to share episode 18 of the Oriental Café podcast with you. Please drop your comment in the comments area, rate, follow, like, and share our episode. I love you. I will see you and dance with you soon. And I will wait for you in episode number 19 of the Oriental Café podcast with a very special guest. I love her so much. I did not want our conversation to end. And she is from the other side of Oriental dance. Ya bent. Shabby. Maraganet world. Woo! You're gonna love her. More about that later at episode 19 of the Oriental Café podcast. Mwah.